An important aspect of a retirement income strategy is identifying the key risks that impact what an individual will have to spend during retirement, and then identify ways to minimize these risks or take them off the table altogether. Now, I see 4 key risks that prevent retirees from optimizing their income for the lifetime of their retirement. Those 4 risks include the risk of inflation, the risk of sequential returns, withdrawal rate risk, and longevity risk. Another significant concern occurs when a plan is not adequately protected, specifically in terms of a long-term illness or injury. The first risk that will almost certainly affect every retirement portfolio is inflation, which can decimate purchasing power over time. For example, if you get $1,000 per month from your nest egg, the purchasing power at 4% inflation will be cut by more than half in 20 years and by more than 2/3 in 30 years. However, there have been some periods, such as the late 1970s, when inflation soared into the double digits. Inflation is extremely problematic for those retirees who are on fixed incomes and who are depending on their retirement savings to help ends meet. High inflation can erode both your income and your portfolio if you do not plan for it. And the U.S. has experienced a period of relative price stability and low inflation for the past 25 years or so. Even so, prices of food, gas, stamps, and other items that you buy have gone up significantly over this period. Is the order of returns risk, or risk of sequential returns. As you know, the markets can go up and they can go down. What matters to you when saving for your retirement is the average return of your investments over a period of years. But the day you retire and start taking money out of a portfolio, all the rules change, and average returns are no longer important. Now, this probably goes against what most retirees think. I mean, it certainly goes against what you've experienced, because for your whole life, you've been a saver and investor. You've grown used to checking the average returns on your IRA, your 401k, your stocks, and your bonds. I mean, heck, if you can get 3%, it's better than 1. And if you can get 5%, it's better than 3. So we grow up our whole lives thinking that average returns are what really matter. Let's use an example to illustrate this risk. The year was 1973, and Jim had $100,000. He invested 50% stock, 50% bonds. For the next 22 years, he averaged 10.1% a year for 22 years. And his $100,000 grew to approximately $846,000. And it doesn't matter if we ran the numbers backwards from 1995 to 1973. Why? Because he still averaged 10.1% a year for 22 years, and he still wound up with a boatload of money, regardless of the sequence of his yearly returns. Now, that's the way some people think the world works, but it does not work that way the day you retire. Consider Bill, who also had $100,000 in 1973. Just like Jim, he invested it 50% stock, 50% bonds. He also averaged 10.1% a year for 22 years. But Bill retired in 1973 and needed income. So his broker told him he could take out 5% per year. Well, with an average return of nearly twice that, both Bill and the advisor figured everything would be fine. The result? He's dead broke. Now you're probably wondering, how can you average 10.1% a year for 22 years, only take out 5 and go broke? Well, the short answer is average returns don't matter as much as the sequence or the order of those returns over the years. See, the day you retire, there's really only one thing that matters, and that's the order of those returns. Take a look at this chart. This is also going to be against everything you've always been taught. I think most financial professionals were taught that the older you are, the more conservatively you should invest. For example, that an 80-year-old should invest more conservatively than a 60-year-old, and a 60-year-old should invest more conservatively than a 40-year-old. That's what I was taught. But that's not what this chart shows. Both of these portfolios have identical average returns. What's the only difference? Well, the dark line shows the portfolio that lost money early in retirement, and you can see it devastated their retirement. The lighter line shows a portfolio that lost money later in life. It had much less of an impact. The order of returns risk is greatest in those years right before and right after you retire. See, big market declines like we saw in 2008, 2009 that occur during this time frame could be devastating to your retirement savings and future income. As I said, many professionals believe that the older you are, the more conservative your investment should be. But in reality, the years right before and right after the beginning of your retirement matter far more than those later years. So if you ask me, Tom, when is the riskiest, most critical time for a retiree when they really should not mess anything up? If you want to pick a time in your life where you don't want to lose money, that'd be those 5 or 6 years right before and the 5 or 6 years right after retirement. Withdrawal rate risk is one of the biggest challenges you will face in retirement. See, many people believe they can take out 10% per year or more from their portfolio in retirement. Well, you can, but you're going to run out of money very quickly. Now, there have been several studies done to determine what a safe withdrawal rate is. What's your guess, 5%? Nope, too much. Even a 4% withdrawal rate can fail depending on the investment model and assumptions that you use. So what is the bulletproof rate? Only 2%. The Wall Street Journal said that a 2% withdrawal rate is the bulletproof withdrawal rate, although 3% is considered safe. 4% is pushing it, and with 5% or more, you will likely run out of money. It's only a matter of time. And most people have no idea how dangerous it is to withdraw too much each year. The final risk that I'm going to address is longevity risk. It's important to realize that longevity is not just a risk. It's a risk multiplier of the other risks. Since the longer you live, the more likely the other risks will affect you. See, living longer is not just a risk, it's the risk of outliving your income. Here are some interesting statistics. Average retirees spend 18.1 years in retirement. The average life expectancy of a 65-year-old male is age 85. The average life expectancy of a 65-year-old female is age 88. But the average life expectancy of a couple, both age 65, is that one of them will live to be age 92. Think about that. Even if an individual does a good job of planning and saving, it could be all for naught if the plan is not protected from the possibility of disability, long-term care needs, or other risks. Let me make this as clear as possible. No retirement plan is complete without a plan for long-term care. For many seniors, it's the only thing they have not planned for that could completely wipe out their entire life's work and savings. Think about it for a minute. If your house burned to the ground, it would be an emotional loss, but your insurance would cover to move or rebuild. If you totaled your car, you may have some physical injuries, but the insurance company would help protect you from lawsuits and replace your car. But what would happen if you needed full-time, around-the-clock care to help you live your life? What would that cost? How long would your savings last? What would happen to your spouse and family? Now, here are some interesting statistics. The odds of your home burning down between now and the day you die are about 3 out of 100. But nearly every homeowner has homeowners insurance. The odds of you totaling your car between now and the day you die are about 18 out of 100. Yet nearly every automobile owner carries auto insurance. But the odds that you will need some form of long-term care between now and the day you die are about 72 out of 100. However, less than 30% of Americans over the age of 45 have purchased long-term care insurance. See, you could have done a great job with your stocks, your bonds, your investments, your annuities, but an unplanned long-term care event could literally wipe you out. Think of long-term care insurance simply as a shield around all your assets and income so that you're able to spend your money the way that you want to instead of the way that you have to. Once a person's basic expenses are covered with guaranteed lifetime income and the rest of the portfolio is optimized with a goal of offsetting inflation, there is one other piece of the plan that needs to be addressed: wealth transfer at the retiree's death. One of the easiest ways to transfer wealth is through the purchase of life insurance. See, buying a life insurance policy to provide money to a loved one, a favorite charity, or if the need exists for estate tax purposes, allows the retiree to spend more of their assets during their retirement years on themselves without worrying about what will be left to pass on or how their estate will be settled. Okay, let's take this a step further and look at an example. Joe, age 65, is purchasing a lifetime income annuity to meet his basic needs, leaving an investment portfolio of $685,000. He also has 2 children that he would like to leave an inheritance when he dies. Well, he could purchase a $250,000 single premium life insurance policy to guarantee an inheritance for his children and still have roughly $525,000 in his portfolio to cover his discretionary expenses. The life insurance allows him to spend the remainder of his money freely. See, many people think that life insurance has nothing to do with retirement. I would argue life insurance has everything to do with retirement. See, it's the life insurance that you have in retirement that can be used for legacy purposes that literally gives you the license so that you can spend the rest of your money. Look, life insurance is a key part of a successful retirement plan.